Hello, everyone, and welcome to Grip Lock, Foundation Disc Golf's weekly podcast. I'm Hunter, joined as always by Trevor. Connor will be joining us here in a little bit. We're recording this podcast early because we have a 24-hour stream ahead of us. By the time you're watching this, we're probably in hour 8 of it. You might not be. I'm definitely am by the poll. Yeah, I'm for sure locked in.
You're cooked.
I got 24 hours ahead of me.
Maybe not, though. Maybe the people will rally around you.
Come on, Trevor. I got 24 hours ahead of me, so I'm mentally prepped, though, and I'll explain it on the stream. Actually, at this point, they would already know. I do like the Mint Disc Taco pick for when the stream flips.
Yeah.
In case they don't know.
They don't know about that
But
yet.
I'm saying by this point, they might. By the time to listen to this.
Oh, right. That's a
I
good
won't
point.
go into any
That's
other
a good point.
details
That's a
just
good
in
point.
case they don't.
Yeah.
But when the stream flips, I like having the taco.
That's probably a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, at that point, I don't even know.
It could really help me. But regardless, once you watch this podcast or while you're watching this podcast, tune into that. Things are going to get real crazy here come midnight, 2 a.m.
Yeah.
For me. And maybe Trevor, maybe Connor.
Yeah.
At least one of them. But we got to have the MVP Open recap. The Disc Golf Pro Tour is doing some equipment testing, and then we finally have the Disc Golf Pro Tour standings for the Tour Championship locked in. So we're going to check in on all of that, and the Manufacturers Cup and Trevor's Trivia. All that fun stuff is ahead. But first, a quick word from the sponsor of today's episode.
Have you all ever been constantly spammed by calls from spam callers and just don't know what to do about them? You try blocking them, but they keep coming in, and it just gets so annoying. Well, I know one of the reasons I get so many spam calls is because big companies can't keep our data safe. Recently, AT&T revealed that nearly all of their customers' call and text records have been exposed in a massive data breach. The stolen logs also contain a record of every number AT&T customers called or texted. So even if you don't use AT&T, someone who texted you did, and then your number has been exposed. So what can you do to protect yourself? That's where Aura, the sponsor of today's video, comes in. Aura will alert me if they find my phone number or any other sensitive information has been compromised. And they give me fast fraud alerts if anyone tries to use that data to access my credit card or bank accounts. Aura does so much more to keep me and my family safe too. I also get things like transaction monitoring, a VPN, antivirus, password manager, parental controls, and identity theft insurance. I get this all in one app at one affordable price. What I'm most excited about is their AI-powered call assistant that picks up unknown calls on my behalf to screen them for spam and scams. The AI forwards legitimate calls to me so I don't miss any of those appointments, deliveries, and emergencies, and it protects me from harmful text messages by filtering out known spam numbers and scanning links in the message for phishing threats. I'm not leaving myself and my family vulnerable to data breaches, and if you don't want to either, you can go to aura.com/foundation and try your first 2 weeks free. Also, link below in the description. That's aura.com/foundation. Make sure to check out Aura. Let's get into the podcast.
MVP Open recap. Beautiful Maple Hill hosted the final Disc Golf Pro Tour event of the season, the final playoff event, and we had James, the proctologist. They're trying to name him Proctorius.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah. Nicholas Antela is up there yelling Proctorius. The Pro Tour's tweeting out Proctorius.
How did they get that?
I don't know.
Bro, it has to be like
it has to be from Voltorius.
We're the only ones that do that.
Yeah, no, not anymore. Proctorius. But it's a proctologist. You
better give us credit. Like, if we're going to come up with something that stupid.
We ran a Raptorius
Like,
disc.
listen, there are a lot of times when it's really funny that Antela was doing it. There's a lot of times that the Pro Tour or Jomez or somebody does something that we talked about in the podcast, and like in our minds we take credit, and part of us believe that we probably had a part in maybe influencing, but there's always like, well, it was a smart move. So, like, maybe they just came up with that. But, like, there's only one thing that comes from.
Raptorius.
Which is Brody and then us by extension.
Yeah.
Come on.
So, anyways, the proctologist. That's his nickname.
Proctorius, dude?
Much better.
I'd like it more. If they gave us credit, we could switch.
Yeah, pretty easily. But the proctologist takes it down. You had Paul McBeth coming in second there. And then this is huge for our picks for top threes. I don't know who all we picked, but having this four-way tie for third is big because we had Gavin, Gannon, Aaron, and Ricky sneak in there, and I'm sure we had Gannon and Rick in there. At least one of us did.
Yeah.
So that's important to have all of them tied for third.
I have a feeling. I have no idea who I picked. Like, I was thinking about it this weekend.
We didn't do an MVP preview show.
Oh, we didn't make any picks.
We didn't make any picks. Never mind. That's what I was doing the same thing. I was sitting there thinking.
I was too. I was like,
I was sitting there thinking, I'm like, I know I put Gannon and Rick in, surely, because like, why wouldn't I? But
I was literally panicking because I was thinking to myself, like, dude, I bet Hunter put Rick in, and I don't think I did.
No, we were traveling.
My brain must have gone straight back to the GMC.
Yeah, we were traveling to Vermont. And so we were on a plane, and then it was a very hectic 24 hours of playing there because we played both courses, traveled to Vermont and traveled back. And so we weren't able to do the preview show for the MVP Open. It just didn't work. But I completely forgot.
In hindsight, like if I just forget everything that just happened in this tournament, I maybe would have picked Rick, and I obviously would have had Gannon in there, but I wouldn't have picked Proctor or McBeth probably.
No.
Or Babcock or Gossage.
No.
So
now on FPO, we probably would have went 3 for 3. Missy 1, Kristin 2, Own 3.
There's a pretty good chance we would have.
Yeah, we would have at least had those 3 up there.
Yeah.
Maybe in different order. But Missy Gannon takes it down. Big money Missy.
Yeah.
It was her first time winning the MVP Open. Pretty big thing there.
Kind of surprising.
And we'll get into there. It's also had some big other it was a big win for her for other reasons too. But Kristin, coming into that final round, brought a 3-stroke lead into the round, grew it to 4 strokes through hole 4, and then Missy chased her down, tied it up through holes 8, and then Kristin and Missy started exchanging jabs back and forth kind of through that middle stretch. Meanwhile, Paige Pierce looked like her old self out there on an absolute scorcher. Trevor's actually just telling me, I didn't see this part.
Yeah, bro. She had one of the most legendary clips of all time where on hole 1, she is literally on the back of the tee, turns around, and she's on chase card, keep in mind. Turns around, says, you're going to want to follow chase card today. It's going to be a good one. And then, like, immediately after saying that, goes and throws her drive. Had she shanked that drive or, like, tossed it into the lake, it would have been the funny. Like, I was laughing really hard just even thinking about the possibility of what she almost did. Like, that would be, in my book, would have been the funniest disc golf clip of all time. Like, right, you're going to want to follow chase card. It's going to be a good one. And then just shanking it out of bounds. Like, talk about adding unnecessary pressure, man. But she was fired up
she
all
was
day.
ready for it. Yeah.
All day she was fired up.
I think she was end up being like 7 under through 14 holes or something like that. She was on a scorcher. So she was getting herself into the conversation on the leaderboard at least. And was right in there. She ended up falling off on hole 17 and 18. Missed a pretty bad putt on 17. Couldn't make the comeback.
I believe it was 16 that she threw a really good putt from distance and just hit high on the band. Had that gone in, I think things would have been different.
Yeah.
That's kind of where she kind of lost the ball a little bit. I think that was on 16. That might have been on 15 actually, because then she scrambled on 16. So I don't remember which one it was. But Paige, it's weird because I think this is what you get out of a player like Paige Pierce, and I think we see it kind of in Paul's game right now. Now I will say Paul's been more polished this season. He's shown signs of improvement, but when Paul was really streaky there for a while. Whenever you see a player like this, it's somebody who is, in my mind, just a little out of tune, a little out of practice, maybe not putting in as much work as they used to. And so what you have is somebody who's very talented, and when things click, things are great, but it's really hard in a 4-day tournament to have things click for 4 days straight. And that's why I think Paul and Paige have had struggles winning tournaments, haven't been able to really do that, because it's one thing to catch fire because you have it within you, right? Like, every once in a while, Hunter and I, who never practiced disc golf, will just play really well because there was a time where we did practice. But it's really hard to do that for 4 days, and that's where you usually get beat out. And both of them came very close at this time around. And it's always when Paige Pierce is playing well, it's always fun because she's really good. She throws a lot of fun shots. Her putt can be very dialed, and she's effective from distance. There's a lot about her game that's very fun to watch, and it was cool seeing her, no pun intended, show some passion, and
she looks fierce out there.
Yeah, she had a lot of drive, but it was a good time. I like watching Paige Pierce in contention.
No, I do too.
FPO was good time.
It was electric.
It was good time.
So, anyways, while that's going on, I don't know if it was quite the same timing as Paige on 17. I don't think so. I think she was probably on like 16 when what went down on 14 went down. But Kristin puts it within the circle, basically parked. She's at like 15, 16 feet left of the basket. Great drive. Missy teed off after her, and it was on the commentary team. They were saying that she had it high enough, but didn't put enough power.
No, it needed more height.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
They were saying that that was a great line. She just needed a little more power to get the juice. But I mean, she missed. Regardless, she hit the wall low.
I say, in fairness, if it were higher, she would have needed more power to get to the basket. But if it were higher, she would have been shorter, but in bounds. I think it just didn't have enough time to get left. I think Missy even said that, like as it was in the air, like be high enough, I believe is what came out of her mouth. And it was close. The pros, man. They play that hole, and it just shows you how good they are at throwing a Stockheiser, because like they play that hole so scary, like so many shots. I think it was Owen and Ella both on that card landed like just over the wall and basically leaned up against the pole.
Like
but even like the bad misses from like the pros that were playing well are just like skipping 10 feet left and then maybe going towards that wall, like. Gosh, they play it really tight, and it is so, and it helps when there's no wind because you're not worried about your disc just getting dropped out of the sky. But yeah, you give those players good conditions, and they have really, really dialed control on those hyzer shots because they have to throw them so often.
Yeah,
it's impressive.
So she ends up missing low, and she ran the putt from the drop zone. It went high, but hit the pole. That could have been doomsday scenario for her.
Yeah, that was big time.
Drop. So she takes a bogey. Kristin takes a birdie, gives her a 2-stroke lead going into the final stretch. That really comes down to 17. 17, that 2-stroke lead carries for Kristin. I'll let Trevor take over for the last 2 holes.
Yeah, well, 17 was bad because Kristin, and I'm telling you, and it's funny because she did the exact same thing on 18 I'll get to. But Kristin, I swear, every awful shot I see her throw, like the ones that really make you scratch your head. It's one thing to like miss a line on your drive or miss a 25-footer or whatever. But the throws that I see from Kristin the most that frustrate me, that I'm just like, how could you do that, are the sawed-off forehands, approaches. She does it all the time in big spots. And so 17, she's in fine position, saws off her forehand really bad and makes it awkward, ends up missing a putt. Yeah, it was a scary one, and it wasn't an awful putt, but like that's kind of what you get when you leave yourself that for par and you leave yourself a nervy putt. So really misplayed there. And then you get to 18, lays up, which whenever I kind of had to like check myself, because whenever she laid up, I kind of did the like, oh, are you kidding me? Like, you're just going to let Missy have a chance. And then Missy laid up, and I was kind of like, I mean, yeah, that green is really small. Like, laying up makes sense there. I'm not mad about that. But you lay up, and then what does she do again? She saws off the forehand, and then that's ultimately how she loses. And I, Missy still had to execute a forehand shot, Missy, on 18 from a similar spot, which is not her strength.
No.
Kristin would consider that one of her strengths, and Missy throws a great shot, puts it really close, and wraps it up.
Well, also, Missy hit a huge putt on 17.
Oh, yeah.
To take the 2.
Yeah, she did. Missy did hit a very long putt.
I think it was like 35-ish footer down the hill.
I think it had it like 38 down the hill.
I can look.
It was a do-or-die putt. Missy's putt was pretty on.
They gave her 41 in the PDGA stats.
It was 41. I don't know if anybody else gets this, and I know it's because the UDisc scorekeepers, like, they don't have a measuring stick, but I saw some of the most criminal distances. There was a time, and I know the camera sometimes is misleading, but there was a time, I think it was Missy, they had at like 50 feet, and I swear she was circle's edge. Like, I was like, there's just no universe where that's 50 feet. And then I watched the putt travel, and I was like, yeah, no, that's not 50 feet. But anyways, not a perfect system. But yeah, no, she did. She, realistically, you mentioned 14, she had kind of a do or die putt and at least had it on line enough to hit the flag and stay close. And then, 17, that was the big momentum shift that I think just put Kristin on edge there on 18. She should have been able to walk it in a little bit more, and instead had to like gear up. But it's a great win for Missy, and another tough one for Kristin. It's a tough one. I mean, yeah, she choked.
Has Kristin won? Has Kristin won this event?
No.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny? Well, I don't know if she's ever won it, but it's like 3 years in a row. I think she's taken like second.
Yeah, she's never won it.
People are saying, and this is really funny actually, but people are saying she's been on record as saying that she hates the lake jump, or doesn't hate it maybe, but doesn't want to do it. And people are saying she just doesn't want to jump in the lake.
No, I saw that on Twitter.
So she's purposely losing, which
I saw on Twitter after she threw a B on 18. A bunch of people on
beyond funny
on Twitter were saying, man, Kristin wasn't lying. She really does not want to get in that lake.
I don't believe that, obviously, but it's something to think about.
It is funny to think
that lake is pretty nasty.
Meanwhile, you got Missy traveling with a wetsuit for the lake.
That's epic, yeah.
She jumped in the lake. Now, I don't know the full story around it, but on commentary, they were acting like she was traveling with it for winning MVP so she could jump in the lake.
Well,
because she came out there with a full wetsuit on.
I would say if she has it at this point in the tour, they haven't been in surfing places for quite some time, since like summer. So yeah, that adds up. I buy it.
Yeah, she went and put the wetsuit on because like Proctor, they asked him about the lake after he won, which we'll get to Proctor's win here after we go over this Pro Tour standing, and he was basically like, he seemed, I couldn't tell if he didn't want to do it or what, but they said something. He goes, "Is it deep enough?" Because like the lake was noticeably lower than when we were there. Like
really?
it was.
Didn't they get any rain
It was like I mean, it was definitely deep enough. When they jumped in, they were underwater, but you could tell where the water normally is and where the water was. He's like, I heard it's like only up to your knees. Like we can't jump in that. Like and he's talking to Brian, and then it pans over to Steve Dodge, and Steve Dodge just goes, "To the pond!" It was very funny.
I mean, it's like the whole lake thing. It's tradition. I get it. It's gross. But also,
you gotta
like,
do it.
Yeah, if I had just won Maple Hill,
Nate Doss was like, they couldn't even keep me on the
water.
green. I was sprinting to that lake.
Yeah, I mean, I would do it.
But
for
he did
sure.
it.
Yeah,
and yeah, he was a great.
You
sport
do
about
not want to be the person that doesn't do it.
No,
oh,
you
man.
can't be.
That would be tough.
He was
That'd
like,
be
he
real
went to
tough.
the autograph booth first, and they had like, so the broadcast was like sitting there for a solid like
guys.
5 minutes, and they were all just like, "Where is James?" Missy's like standing by the water looking, and they like had to go pull him out of the autograph booth to come down.
Did you see the LL Bean integration they did? I think it was the first round where they like walked to the tee box. So this was the integration. It was an LL Bean sponsored segment, and I think it was a cool theory.
Okay,
I'll start with that because when it first started, I was like, "Oh, I don't hate this." This is the idea. The idea is you get on the grounds, so you're a camera POV type shot, and it starts with you walking out of the pro shop, and the idea is that you're going to walk from the pro shop to the first tee and kind of see the grounds from like a person. And I'm like, it starts. I'm like, hey, all right. This sounds like a decent idea. Like, I like this. The problem is it lingered on too long. It was a good, like, to the point where I was like, are they going to miss the tee shots here? Like, it was taking a really long time. And they got into Vendors Village, and in the middle of this LL Bean sponsored segment, they just start showing booths.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Like, really, really giving attention to multiple booths. I'm like, so now you're just giving advertising.
Yeah, now it's not even
during
just
another
LLB.
ad. And so, because like if they had just walked, and it's kind of a far walk, but if they had just kind of walked to the first tee, I'm like, yeah, that's kind of a cool look.
Yeah.
You get some perspective. But they just lingered around a little too long, and I was kind of just sitting there, because there's no audio. You're meant to be like immersed.
Yeah.
So nobody's talking, and I was just kind of like, huh. All right. Well, this is interesting. I thought it was funny.
It went too long. No, I didn't see that. That's hilarious. So FPO, the finish here, had some season-long implications.
Hannah Wynn.
Well, not just Hannah Wynn. Missy Gannon wins. Missy Gannon took the title, the Tour Championship regular season points. That's not what I meant to say. The Pro Tour regular season points leader.
Pretty crazy. From
Holland Hanley with this. So Holland came in 6th place, earning 90 points. Missy Gannon won, earning 150 points.
Fifth win.
And her 5th win. And she ends up winning the Tour Championship. Wow, Hunter. The Pro Tour Point Series race by 20. So she took it from Holland. They actually showed Holland's final putt, and like they did a pretty good job, I thought, during the coverage of explaining.
They were very proactive.
What
with
different where players were at currently, what different things meant for players, and they were making sure they showed you Holland obviously was out of it. She came in 6th place, but they showed you her final putt to be and that really locks in.
Yeah, they were tracking Stacy Kiefer and people that were trying to get in.
Now, what you were saying, Hannah Wynn is going to end up being the 20th place person, which is the cut line.
Is it less than a point?
By less than a point. So Eliezer Mittling.
That's epic.
Eliezer Mittling needed to come in 14th place to make it in. She ended up in 15th place.
Brutal.
Courtesy of Candice Burge, who came in 14th. I believe it ended up being 2 strokes when it was all said and done. It was kind of electric because Candice ended up double bogeying hole 18, but the problem was Eliezer bogeyed hole 18. So she lost by 2, the spot that she needed. And then as soon as that happened, they panned over to Hannah Wynn up on the balcony, and she was just sitting there you couldn't quite tell if she knew, and then people started running over and hugging her, and you realize, oh yeah, she knows what this is all for.
Pretty cool, yeah.
So she got in by less than a point. It actually ended up being 0.75 is what it looks like, points to get into that Tour Championship. And that's important because A, you have a shot at the biggest purse in disc golf, but B, it's a guaranteed payday.
Yeah.
You just earn, like, you just show up and you're getting paid. Other than that, there was definitely some shifting that is just for strokes, but that was obviously the big storyline. Those two, Missy taking the regular season point title from Holland, and then the Hannah win, Ellie Ezra, that whole
I feel like we got
drama down there.
We got to talk
for
like
sure.
final resumes here.
Yeah, I mean, player of the year wise.
I mean, Missy's making it pretty messy.
Because Missy's
here.
got
Messy Gannon.
USWDGC major win. Then she has, in addition to that,
she's got 4
1,
Elite Series.
2, 3, 4 Elite Series. One of them being the MVP Open playoff. That level doesn't really matter. So 4 Elite Series plus a major, and then you have Kristin with 1, 2, 3, 4 Elite Series, 5 Elite Series, and a major.
Okay. So Kristin still has the
Kristin
edge
still
there.
has it with that the big thing for Kristin is just she missed DDO to DMC.
And then the interesting one I think is
Evelina. Evelina is the other interesting one because
majors.
she has the chess.com Open Invitational, so she has 1 there, and then she has a second Elite Series, so she has 2 Elite Series and 2 majors. Still, I think goes to Kristin.
That's tricky. I do think this is...
wait, 2 Elite Series and 2 majors, and by my math goes 2, 4, 6 wins, and Kristin has 5 Elite Series and a major?
Yeah.
So Kristin wins. 7.
Oh, you
I go double.
2.
I go double. Majors mean a lot to
I
me.
usually go 1.5, just because 1.5 in the scale of there's only like a few wins a year. I feel like is a lot. I do think that this might be the kind of exception where maybe if Evelina were to like throw pink, it's
major in our hearts.
Yeah, it's major in our hearts. So, like, I like to think in a year where it is this close between, Missy, I'll throw her in there as well, where if somebody were to go out and win a throw pink and even a tour championship from maybe not the first place spot, like maybe Evelina wins the tour championship and neither of the other two, like maybe then it gets a little bit interesting. But I think right now it'll be really interesting to see what happens with the voters. I think I'd have to do some thinking about it at this point. So.
Yeah. No, it's definitely close. And it's a similar one as like last year where you had Calvin and Isaac. Like, there's not really a wrong answer per se because you can make a different argument for different players. Kristin, in my opinion, just has the strongest because, I mean, even her bad finishes this year, still, her worst finish was 8th. I don't know, Evelina's worst. I see a 10th on there. No, that's Owen, sorry. Evelina's worst, I see a 15th. So even if you're trying to go that, the problem with Kristin is just that missed stretch in the middle there of like, that stretch to me feels like that could have cemented. If she picks up 2 or 3 wins in that stretch, which isn't unrealistic. She missed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now some of those are back and forth between Europe, so she didn't actually miss that many, but there's that many events that were possible to be played.
Right.
It's not an unrealistic thing. She wins 2 more in that, and then it's not even a conversation. And if she does that, she's also the points leader for the year, but she didn't. So you can't factor that in. So
she didn't.
That'll definitely be a very interesting storyline to follow there. Now over on MPO, coming into the final day, you had Aaron Gossage and Ricky Wysocki tied for the lead. Gannon Burr sitting 1 behind them, and then James Proctor was 2 behind them. And then it ended up being on.
Paul was like what?
I think he was on 3rd card.
Yeah, he was.
He
He could have been the first 3rd card Pro Tour
He was
winner.
the top on 3rd card, 6 strokes out of the lead going into the final round.
Yeah.
Why that's important is because Paul McBeth caught absolute fire out there. Really, he started, I guess, normal 3 under through 5. He really caught fire.
He started on a good pace,
but nothing like mind-boggling.
Yeah, you weren't like, it wasn't like, oh, he's going to catch them. And then obviously he played perfect from 13 on.
Yeah,
so.
He went 7 under on the back 9 to shoot 11 under final round there. And why that was important was he was in the clubhouse since he was on 3rd card. He was in the clubhouse sitting at 28, and it felt like he shouldn't really get brought into the conversation because of where Aaron and James were, and even Gannon, I think, had a shot at that point. Where they were at score-wise, it was like, well, someone's going to get to 30 at least, which he did. But what ended up happening is Aaron, the Gooseman Gossage, really what hurt him was just the stretch of 13 through 16. A lot of players were getting birdies in that stretch, and he just went quiet. Just completely quiet during that.
And he still ended up controlling his destiny on the final hole.
Yes, he still had it.
Had a forehand approach to try and try and get into a playoff.
Yeah, which he didn't know at that point that was to get into a playoff. He knew he needed to do it if he wanted to do anything because Proctor hadn't thrown OB yet, if my timing is correct.
I believe Proctor had already laid up for par. And
yes.
I think Gossage was only one back, wasn't he? Or was he two back?
He was two back. No, you're right, because he bogeyed, because he was tied with Paul. So that was to put him one back. If he would have birdied to the... No, Proctor still needed a bogey to get to 29, because Gossage was at 28.
I guess my own brain watching it was not processing, because whenever I was watching it, for whatever reason, I was thinking, oh, if Gossage makes birdie, it's on.
Birdie got Gossage to 29, and Proctor had laid up for par.
Right.
If Proctor parred, he was at 30.
Right. I guess I was just thinking it was a pressure apply situation.
It was to knock Paul out of the conversation, because if Gossage got into 20 but as soon as Gossage threw OB, my brain did the opposite. I forgot Paul existed, because you had tweeted the Trevor kiss of death.
That one was on purpose. I'm sorry.
Wow. So Trevor tweeted about James Proctor.
That was me like really seeing if I could control things.
That was on like hole 16. That you tweeted that?
Yeah, I think it was on 16 after Proctor threw it to like 25 feet. It was absolutely sick and made it to where I was like, I think he just won this tournament. And I was like, let's see if I can spice things up.
Because what I did is...
I want to watch some interesting disc golf.
on 18, when Gossage threw OB, I responded to your tweet and basically was like...
That's why you said that, because I was like, Hunter, dude, like, I don't... Like, when at the time you said that,
I forgot Paul existed. Yeah, I was watching Proctor the disc golf. I was watching just the like, I knew where Gossage, because in my mind, Proctor had already gotten to 30.
Yeah.
Gossage was like, should be able to get to 29. So I was already like, well, Paul's kind of out of this thing. Like, great final round. It's unfortunate. He's kind of done. So I had already ruled him out. So then Gossage threw OB, and I responded to your tweet, and I was like, looks like you're going to get by fine on this one.
Yeah,
and then as soon as I tweeted that,
like,
Proctor threw OB.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that's interesting.
Classic.
And then it hit me. I was like, he has to make this putt or else he's tied with Paul.
There is.
And so then I deleted the tweet because I was like, I'm not.
There's something so beautiful about that 18th green, because what it does is, because it's like, it cuts in, but it's like horizontal to where you're at. You're almost perpendicular to it, and it's really thin. So basically what you're left with is you have this forehand where it's such a fine line between sawing it off or doing what I think Corey Ellis did years ago, and then Proctor did this time, which is you got adrenaline going through your system. You're already thinking, don't you dare leave it short. You'd rather have the disc fighting back rather than going away from the wall. And then you pump it long, and he was just long. I mean, literally almost skipped right off the wall and in. But I mean, it's such a tough. I underestimate. Like, I've always liked hole 18, but this time watching it, I was like, yeah, hole 18 rocks, because basically from the tee, you have a tough birdie that you're only really going to go for if you feel like you need to. But then laying up for par brings double bogey all the way into play, because even once you lay up and have 150 feet in, it's very easy to mess that shot up and then have to make a drop zone putt for a bogey. So it's such a good hole, and you know, it provided all the drama because it kept Paul in it. That's why, like, I think the one failure of MVP or Maple Hill as a course is, I think 17 is kind of a weird one, because like you get a lot of difficulty on the back, and then 17 is almost a breather because it's not super challenging, kind of a shorter par 4. The drive's not super demanding, and then you're left with like a chippy shot in. I'm not saying every course needs to be super demanding all the way in, but it's kind of a weird one where it's like you play a tough 16, and then 17 is kind of like whatever, and then you get to 18 and it's kind of hard again. I wish that just 16 is where 17 was, or like, I don't know. It just kind of feels out of place for me, because I felt like for both, now for FPO, it kind of ended up mattering. I feel like the one defense of that hole is the green that sometimes causes trouble.
It's tricky green.
But beyond that, I don't know. I don't see it as dramatic as some of the, like, there's a lot of holes on the back half there that are very dramatic.
Well, I think it could definitely use OB like a. I think if 17, now this is a little tricky the way it lays out, because
maybe make the landings a little harder.
But I was thinking if you almost brought the OB in to where it played similar to 18, where you had to get your drive in bounds and then you had to cross OB to get that, to where like it's at least something else to think about. But I don't know.
I heard,
or bring the OB tighter on the right, because so many people just kind of turn it over to the right or throw the forehand over there, that if you brought that in, that could also increase.
We got another classic, just man doesn't the PDGA rock. day one where Doss had to explain to the coverage team that the reason hole 3 is playing not as good, being that there's no OB shy of the landing area like normal, is because they didn't want to have to get a waiver or couldn't get a waiver.
The waiver thing's so dumb.
It's stupid. You gotta be kidding me. This is the most prestigious course in existence. What is going on? First of all, get the waiver, and second of all, that shouldn't even be a requirement. It's so stupid. This is the Pro Tour. This isn't Billy Bob Jim running a C tier out in Blacksburg.
That's what we were at GMC.
Gosh,
and there was a few holes there that we noticed.
Stupid little connected.
We noticed
dots.
they just had the little strip and bounce to the left, and we got it confirmed. We just didn't get a waiver. And I was just sitting there. I'm like, the Pro Tour needs to be above the PDGA rules.
They
when it
should
comes
have
to that
those waivers like they're blank checks. It shouldn't be a problem at all.
If you've got an elite, maybe it can't be Elite Series or Major, because I know sometimes there's just kind of dark horse things go on there. But if you're a Pro Tour event, you shouldn't need a waiver, in my opinion. Because
I agree. They should have their own set of rules.
It should be their own thing. If the Pro Tour has a hole they want to use stroke and distance on, they should be able to, and it should be the Pro Tour is allowed to do this. Sorry, your B tier is not. That should be a completely fine statement.
I don't understand why that's not a thing. I just it sounded so stupid. Just sometimes you got to put yourself in the headspace of somebody that isn't really familiar with disc golf, and they go, "Oh, they didn't get a waiver, so they couldn't have out of bounds, and there's no danger. There's not even water or anything. It's just land right there. That is so mind-boggling to me. I just it just made me chuckle, because I was like, are we serious? That is just don't even say that if you're going to do it.
Yeah. So then anyways, you get to hole 18, Proctor throws OB, proceeds to the drop zone. And the story he tells to Brian Earhart is that he was walking up to the drop zone and was talking to his caddy and asked his caddy, Allie Smith, what is this putt for? What happens if I make this putt? And she basically just told him, you make the putt, you win. So we don't know if he knew.
Well, that can only mean one thing, because if he
missed the putt, he didn't lose. He went to a playoff. So I'm saying I don't know if he knew I can miss this putt and go to a playoff, or if it's I don't know what he knew or where he was.
He made. But
he made the putt.
He made the putt.
Ice cold. He knew the putt. Here's what we do know. He knew the putt was for the win.
Yeah.
And he drilled a 70-footer. Ice cold water in his veins.
These disc golfers continue to prove against the narrative of knowing where you are is important. So it's not really helping our cause on this podcast. But I just have to say, for me personally, the amount of shell shock that I would get if I have maybe just a little idea, but then all of a sudden somebody tells me you've got to make this putt to win.
Well, but he didn't say he didn't know where he was. He said he wasn't looking at scores. Because he knew to play for par on 18. How I interpreted the whole situation.
Yeah, Allie Smith probably told him.
That's what I'm saying, which I have no problem with that.
But that doesn't.
If I don't want to look at the scores to know, I don't want to know exactly, I don't mind. I don't want to look at the scores. I don't want to see the whole leaderboard. You just tell me, oh, you need to. If you par here, you win.
I want to know exactly where I stand.
I do too, but I'm saying it's a different scenario. This versus Eagle McMahon not knowing what the putt's for.
I'm just saying, you're gonna make the most accurate, compliant decision based upon you knowing exactly what the scores are at. And on hole 18, it's one thing at certain parts in the tournament if there's certain holes that it's earlier in the round, and there's certain holes where you're I am very set in my way. I'm going to play this hole the same way every time. But once you get late in the round, you got to throw the playbook out the window.
Yeah.
Because you might just have to change. You can't get to hole 18 and say, all week I've just been playing for par. That's my game plan. If you need birdie, right? And that wasn't the case. But that's what I'm saying is I feel maybe some of these players just like that narrative and they just downplay it more than it actually is. I want to know just how much.
I didn't get grossed out by this one because he obviously knew enough to play for par on 18, and then he knew this putt's for the win and he hit it, versus what we've seen sometimes historically. And by historically, I mean that one time Eagle McMahon won D-Glow, and when they start celebrating, he's like, I won? He didn't know the putt mattered.
That's what I'm saying.
That one's gross. I even
believe that though.
That one's gross.
Sometimes I feel I don't even believe it.
Proctor,
they just like that. They like being oh.
I think Proctor was saying he wasn't checking scores, but I think he knew where he was at.
Well, and here's the other thing is too, if you want
because he had to.
if you want to let your caddy kind of guide you through it, and like let's say like he's not looking at the scores, but he steps up to hole 18, and Allie Smith just says, "Hey, we can play for par here," and then he gets to the green like that. That's fine as long as you have somebody.
That's what I'm saying.
That is guiding you,
which he clearly did.
But like you have to be like every single shot changes everything, right? So like my thing is like as soon as Gossage throws OB, like there needs to be some kind of update because if not, if James Proctor doesn't know where Gossage is and he just knows he's playing for par, but then Gossage throws OB, his mind is thinking maybe subconsciously now. Maybe I don't need to make par anymore. Like that's what, like things change every single shot. So like that's where I'm like, I don't know. Like what are we doing out there? But it doesn't matter. He won. We can't win.
Stone
so maybe
cold.
That's the secret.
Stone cold hit that putt. It was disgusting.
The problem is too, like you and I, especially you are very much like not notorious, but like famous for no matter what video we're filming because of how competitive you are, to a T.
Oh, I know where I'm at.
Hunter will hit me like 16 holes into us playing disc golf with hot glue guns, and he'll be like, so I'm like 3 back, right? And I'm gonna look down, and I'll look down and be like, yep. Like he always
I keep
knows.
track.
And like I'm pretty good about knowing what my score is. In a tournament round, I know what my score is for sure. But Hunter knows what his score is in relation to everybody on his card all the time.
Well, because like it affects, for me, it just affects everything. Like it affects my.
You get more motivated.
Yeah. Yeah, it affects my like drive to actually do something.
That's what I'm saying. Like some people just can't even turn that off. Like I couldn't do that. I was literally about to say to you like, hey, next monthly match, it'd be funny if we just like we really tried to not look at scores. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. We'll know.
Yeah, I know.
There's
exactly
only 2 of us.
Like I can't. Yeah.
Yeah. That's so.
But
funny
even like
to me.
because I think where it comes from partially is back in disc golf, you didn't know where you were at. Like some of my first wins.
Yeah, you walk in and you hold your breath.
I was on chase card at I was playing MA1 at the Commonwealth Games.
Yeah.
And I was on chase card and we went out to Camp Hideaway and I played the round of my life. Like the best round I'd ever played at Camp Hideaway. But I didn't know if it was good enough.
Yeah.
And so I came in, I turned my scorecard in, and I was waiting for lead card to come in because I was like, I don't even know, I was like 5 or 6 back. And when lead card came in, and I was like just sitting there waiting to hear what they said. And they were like, oh, he got the win. So-and-so got the win. He beat me out. And then they asked like what he shot, and they said what he shot. And I was like, I got him. Yeah. And they had no idea. And I was just sitting back there like, I got him. Because they were on lead card, and there wasn't live scoring. Nowadays, everyone has live scoring. But back then, a random C tier didn't have live scoring.
Well,
so that's where it comes from.
Because like in a 2-round event, you had a better idea. Because a lot of times if you were on lead card, you'd be separated enough to where it's like, okay, if I win my card, I win. But in a 1-round event,
no, you have no idea.
You just kind of had to feel like you played well, you beat your card pretty handily, or if you had a really good player, you just beat them, and then see where the chips fall. The best example of this was at Seco back in 2019 because I played probably the best collegiate round I'd ever played. I had like 2 eagles, ended up shooting like 10 under or something, and it was like one of the first times where it was a 1-round thing. It was like 27 holes. And I literally was walking back up the hill. Like Raven Newsom was on that card with me. I beat the brakes off of him. That was the only time that ever happened. And I dominated my card. And I literally was walking up thinking like, I might have won this tournament. And then sure enough, Hunter, the next person I see is Hunter, who hits me with like I just shot 14 under. And I'm like, oh, I suck. Turns out I was like 2 shots off or 3. Like I came in 3rd. But like the next opinion I heard, I was like, oh, so I probably came in 20th.
Well, what's funny about we played Steady Ed, and I got a really slow start that round. So I was in the exact opposite boat because I didn't realize I had caught fire. Like I got in dig myself out of a trench mode because collegiate, your single scores matters for the whole team. So you there's one thing.
You're just worried about not being the guy.
Yeah, you don't want to be the guy that comes in last. So I started off really slow, and so I was just thinking of like, I can't be the guy that shoots even par and everyone else tears his scores up. Yeah. So I was in that mindset, and I didn't realize I had played great. Because like I just started like I have to put my foot on the gas.
You played real great.
And so then when I walked up and like I said something to Trevor of like I was like, I don't know, man. Like I had a really slow start, blah blah blah, and I told him I shot, and he was like, you might have just won. I was like, there's no shot I won. But it was just because I got hot late.
No, you ended up.
But that was the beauty of disc golf back then, is you had no idea what was going on.
It was beautiful, wasn't it? It was such a simple.
But that's where everyone was coming from. That's why I think people don't like checking scores, is because like you used to not know. Like there was no scores to check.
No, you never knew. Yeah, it was 2018. Because like what did it? Yeah, I shot 10 under, and then and it was a 10 under 85 because it was 27 holes, and you had shot 13 under. Brandon Robertson, 12 under. He had second.
Good old Brandon.
He was a dog.
He was a dog.
He was a dog.
All right, so the Tour Championship on MPO side, Gannon Buhr was the points winner. No surprise there. As we get down to the line, Emerson Keith makes his way in. Corey Ellis also made the cut.
Didn't really get frisky with the MPO line.
Eagle McMahon made the cut easily. I know he was kind of on the line going into these final few events. He played pretty solid at both. Well, not at this one, but at the first one. GMC came in 7th, came in 52nd out here. Didn't matter. He made himself in the line so far. So Emerson Keith will be the last one in, other than Jesse Niemanen will get in because of that win. Alden Harris needed to play really solid out here. He did not. He came in 42nd for him to have a chance. Paul Ulibarri misses the cut. Ezra Aderhold misses the cut. Austin Turner.
How crazy is
Kevin
it
Jones.
that a guy like Luke Taylor just really popped off at some select events, especially late in the season in like Worlds, and ended up trudging in there? Where did he come up with 500 points?
Late.
Like all late.
I mean, he got 56 points from Portland, plus event. He came in 10th there.
Yeah, but then he had some good finishes, but
133 of those points came from Worlds.
Yeah, and he ends up getting in.
Eagle McMahon didn't play until his first event was Champions Cup, and he got basically no points there.
I feel like Bradley Williams, Ezra Aderhold, those are guys that are just they're kind of just around and solid, but it just shows you that if you can't at least
you gotta
2 or 3
5.
times, you have to get in contention for the win in a season to earn those big chunks of points, or you won't make the cut anymore.
What's crazy to me is I felt like Ezra kind of did at certain points, but I guess
he maybe early, maybe once
Texas
or twice.
States, but the problem too is you got to do it at plus events.
Yeah,
you got to do it at plus or majors.
Yeah, it's true.
Because he came in 3rd at Texas States, got him 75 points, whereas Luke Taylor came in 4th at Worlds and got him 133.
It'd be interesting to look at pull them up head to head, and let's just compare those resumes, because I'd just be curious to see is there too much weight with the points on certain events for a guy like Luke Taylor to get in over. I mean, the majors are what they are, but that's pretty steep. I feel what's the record on the year for these guys? Luke
Taylor's 8-2 against Ezra.
Never mind.
He absolutely stomped him.
I will forget I ever said anything.
Yeah, he also had Luke Taylor has a 45% top 10 percentage on the year versus Ezra's 9.
Compare him to Bradley Williams. I mean, I'm sure he's going to beat him up at this point. Maybe it was Luke Taylor just played a limited schedule, and when he played, he rocked.
6-2 against Bradley Williams.
I guess that is just the case. Whenever he was playing, he was just kicking butt.
Yeah, I mean, he came in 6th at D-Glow, 4th at Worlds, 5th at the Preserve, 9th at Beaver State, 10th at Portland. His only 2 blemishes really were 84th at Texas States and 46th at GMC.
All right, never mind. I'll change my statement from whatever that was about to be to Luke Taylor next up.
There you go.
You heard it here first.
Now, the other storyline I want to talk about here was this Paul McBeth storyline. He has won an Elite Series or a major event in every season dating back to 2011.
Mm-hmm.
He has 2 chances left this year, realistically. It should be one, but he has 2. I don't know if I actually agree with that statement anymore. He has the USDGC, the major, and then he has the Tour Championship, which in this format, 4 rounds, the top 32 players in the world, and he'll be at a disadvantage against Gannon Buhr.
I think it's a facts versus feelings situation, because as far as the actual merit of the event and all the different conditions it's played under and how I feel the fact should be is I don't think it should count as an Elite Series win, but how it's going to feel if he does that epic comeback over 4 rounds and wins and puts kind of a cap on the season, it will definitely feel very much Paul, he got his win.
Well,
it would be a cheeky one.
The reason I have that feeling is just because of the bracket, the way it used to be. Because when I think of how the tournament sets up now, I'm a lot more okay with it.
Yeah.
When I hear Tour Championship, I think to the fluky bracket, whoever gets hot can win, and the Nate Queen win, and that's that shouldn't count as Elite Series. But when you think of it this time,
yes, he is going to have to chase down a lot of really good players, the players that win most of the events. So yes, that is true. But also at the same time, he's going to have a very small field and a head start over 75% of that small field.
I think he's in
7th or 8th.
He's in 6th now.
6th, so most of the field. So, a lot of the field he'll have quite a few strokes over. So, there's a little give and take.
Yeah.
If right now, if you're giving Paul McBeth a few strokes right now, he'd have won 3 events this year. Because it just seems like there's one round where he just shoots himself in the foot.
Problem is, Paul's giving the strokes to the people that are beating him a lot of that time.
Yes, correct.
Well, I think Ricky has the same strength streak, but it's current. Yeah, because he won the PDGA Championship in 2011, and then 2012 Brent Hambrick, 2013 Texas
no way
States.
He lost at any point after that.
So Ricky has the same streak, but he's won this year.
Yeah.
So
Rick's next up.
So that's more of like what this is all about. Is like Paul's got to win USDGC or this, or else Ricky now has this stat over Paul of the current reigning
true life
yearly win streak, however you want to call it. But crazy that Paul. I mean, this was probably the one for Paul to get, judging by how the chips fell.
The one for him to get was that one in Europe.
That one in Europe also, because I mean, that last year that was his win, was in Europe.
He's kind of been holding on to those. I still like
USDGC. He could easily take down. Well, I can't say easily, but USDGC is such a up in the air event that he could take that.
He's playing well enough that you can't write him off at USDGC,
and that'd be electric.
But the problem is, and I think that maybe, I don't know. I don't necessarily trust him at a course with a lot of OB right now, because I think his game is inconsistent. And like Maple Hill has its share of OB, but it's not just like crushed with OB, and I think that right now helps his game, and I'm still really not believing in that putt 100%. Still scares me at times. I mean,
I think
he almost clanked his putt on 18.
The one thing, and we haven't seen it this much this year, but historically, is Paul has a switch that he can flip. And there's certain things when he cares more about that he can flip it. We haven't seen it.
I'm not doing that anymore.
But I'm just saying.
I'm not doing that.
This is.
He does have a switch. The problem is, it's at this point.
It's faulty.
You don't. Well, no. At this point, once he flips it, it's too late. You can't
but
win like that anymore.
I'm saying right now, going into this event, he cares about the major titles for sure.
Yeah,
but
he will want to win.
I think
USDGC
he cares just as much about this not letting Ricky get this over him.
Oh, I'm sure.
And so
there's a lot weighing on it.
You combine both of those into a perfect storm of breaking Kenny's record of majors and making sure Ricky doesn't get this record over you.
He's at maximum care level.
Yeah.
You can't deny it.
That's what I'm saying.
I just
it's
know
a perfect storm.
That you're not going to just put yourself too far back and then just gain all the strokes back. Like, you've got to at least hang on.
Yes.
And he just hasn't been able to do that.
But, I mean, USDGC, there's also all the history out there. He's going to feel good out there.
Get him in contention. I'm sure he'll get in the mix at USDGC. I'd be surprised if he's not at least I think we'll be talking about him at least through round 2.
Yeah.
We'll be talking about him. Hey, there's Paul. He's there.
We'll see what happens. So, Manufacturer Cup update.
Big win for Thought Space.
It was. Second place, Discraft led the week in both total points at 30 and players in the top 10 with 3.
They have a chance
slightly
to get back
closing
into
the
this?
gap. They are about 50-some points behind Discmania, so they have a chance, but it's just going to take Discmania to stop having people finish in the top 10. With just 2 weeks left, USDGC and the Tour Championship, Discraft needs to outscore Discmania by 58 points to capture the Manufacturers Cup. Only movement in the standings, though, was ThoughtSpace moving from unranked 9th place, pushing Latitude down 1 spot to 10th, bumping Westside out of the top 10. So ThoughtSpace with that moves into 9th, but pretty comfortably in 9th place. They're actually chasing down DGA. Basically on the back of James Proctor alone. Yeah. And Eric Oakley, I think, snuck in there once.
Did he?
I'm pretty sure in Europe he did.
Europe he did?
So we have Discmania 1, Discraft 2, big jump down to Innova in 3rd, Dynamic in 4th, Prodigy in 5th, Casta in 6th, MVP in 7th, DGA in 8th, ThoughtSpace in 9th, and Latitude 64 in 10th.
I noticed Austin Turner doesn't have any logo. I thought he was with DGA.
So that's what Edwin actually texted me about this. I didn't get a chance to fact check him.
Edwin is so
because he said he will update it, but he said that according to Oldie World, which is where he pulls it from, Austin Turner's contract ended last year and he didn't re-sign.
Well, Oldie World doesn't even write anymore. Yeah, I'm calling you out. They write the event previews, and that's like it.
According to Austin Turner's Instagram bio, he doesn't have a disc sponsor other than this Mad Discs, but that's a Dyer. So no, he does not have a disc sponsor, or he just doesn't tag him in there. Just grip equipment.
Okay, I know he's thrown a good bit of DGA stuff. That's why I was.
Yeah, I think he also throws a lot of disc crap. But if you look at his videos, he's basically only in either AB gear or like Under Armour and Lululemon. So.
Sounds perfect.
Yeah.
Sounds like my dream wardrobe.
Yeah.
So hey, but fun leaderboard there. Really fun leaderboard.
Great time. All right, it's time for a fan favorite segment, Trevor's Trivia, right after these messages.
Bloop, 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 bloop.
Trevor's Trivia.
All right,
Trevor.
here's the deal.
Tell me the deal,
We've
Seth.
had a full season now, just about, of events, and each one of them have different strengths. I'm getting a call from Connor right now. Should I answer it?
Is he locked out, you think?
You should go look. I'll stall them.
Stall them, yeah. Keep them entertained.
Hey, what's up, guys? Just me getting a call from my boy Con.
Nope, not outside.
Yeah. I'm going to hang up on him and text him.
I'll carry
you
it on.
stall.
Yeah. So Trevor's Trivia, we had a full tournament or full year of tournaments. So many tournaments. So what we're going to do today, Hunter, is we're going to have you guess the strength of field. Connor's now calling me.
Oh, gosh.
I'm going to text him and say, call Silas.
I don't know what to do. Okay. So the way we're going to play this game is we're going to see how long you can go. I'm going to give you an event as a starter, and I'm going to give you the strength of the
I was so dirty close. I don't know if I said my thought out loud, but I thought you were going to have me guess the strength of field of tournaments.
Just reassuring Connor that I still love him. So what I'm going to do is I'll start you. Actually, I'll let you choose one to start, and then I'll start feeding you, and you got to tell me if it was a weaker or stronger field.
Okay.
So you can choose.
I will just go with
And I'll start pretty easy, and then I will.
the World Championships.
You're going to look for a freebie. I like that.
Yeah, I think I just give me one free.
That's funny. Connor said he's like, is this stream at the warehouse or the office? And I was like, office. He said, sick. Leaving the warehouse now. We have done a lot of streams over there. Okay. So that is a strength of field of 79.7.
Okay.
It is the highest strength of field. I'll just say that. So this next one is going to be under, and I'm going to cheat that by giving you one that's really close to it.
Okay.
So we'll start you with Waco. Is that higher or lower?
Lower.
Okay.
Than Worlds.
Good job.
Yeah.
Good job.
Thank you.
Next one. That one's a 72.6.
Okay.
Next one. 1 for 1. Good job there, Hunter. Next one is the Chess.com Invitational. Is that higher or lower?
Then Waco.
Yeah. I'll give you a free strike in this game. I think it is tough.
I think chess is higher.
There's your strike.
Dang.
Chess.com was a 67.43.
That was pretty close, though.
Next up, we have the Portland Open.
Lower.
No hesitation.
Yeah. West Coast. Got to be lower.
Okay. Yeah, that was a 60.52.
Yeah.
Good job. Okay, you got 2 now. Next, we have the Jonesboro Open. Think about this one.
I think higher. I think it's higher.
Correct.
Yeah.
66.92. Very well done. Very well done. Next, we're going to go to the Green Mountain Championship.
It's got to be higher. Playoff event. Just means more. Higher.
Okay, that's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
It just means more.
Okay, I'm going to stop telling you the numbers. I think that helps you.
No.
Next, we have the Champions Cup.
That's tough. It should be higher. Higher.
Incorrect.
Really?
Significantly lower.
Really?
I think the
How? Who
smaller
didn't play?
GMC field, that was the third strongest field. The GMC one was 71.55, and Champions Cup was actually all the way down to 63. Higher events, including Jonesboro, Chess.com, Open at Austin, they're all higher.
I guess it's because you have to qualify, but there's like weird ways to qualify for Champions Cup.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I mean, it's pretty much middle of the road.
That's very
The outliers in strength of field. So Worlds is a 79 this year.
Yeah.
And then you have Waco at 72, GMC at 71, Open at Austin at 69, MVP at 68, Chess at 67, and it kind of slowly trickles down. But yeah, the next major you run into is Champions Cup at 63, and then European Open was one above it at 64.
It was above
It's
Champions
higher.
Cup.
Yeah.
Wow.
Doesn't that surprise you? What's up with the Champions Cup field?
That is weird.
Let me look at it here. So the lowest player in MPO is only 989. I mean, there's only 4 players below 1,000. That's interesting. Is it just there's a 96 player field?
Just because it's smaller? Like European Open has to be weaker than that.
That is really interesting. It's very close. Let me look at the European Open field.
Yeah, I'm pulling that up right now.
So that's a 95 player field with worse players at the bottom. Maybe the middle of the field is just stronger.
Who didn't play at the top?
You know what it must be is in the European field, there's so many guys in like the 10-20s. I think maybe it's really dense.
Maybe
in the middle.
Fascinating.
I would have never said Champions Cup was worse strength of field than European Open.
No.
That kind of takes everything the issue is that has a lot to do with ratings, and
it's all about
ratings in
ratings.
Europe are completely different because they're on a different continent.
Yeah.
So we'll never have answers.
Here's a question.
What was the lowest
I have.
strength of field? Hunter, do you know?
The lowest Pro
Not
Tour?
including Europe.
Not including Europe. The lowest Pro Tour strength of field.
Wow. I'm kind of surprised by this.
I feel like it's going to be during when they go to Europe.
Actually, I'm not super surprised by this. I thought it was a different one.
I'm going to go with Beaver State Fling.
Looks like it is the DDL 46.
Oh, interesting.
Where is Beaver State Fling? Beaver State Fling was a 61.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's interesting. I did notice that, speaking of PDGA and International, I don't fully know how I feel about this, but the PDGA, they took away the magazine membership. Great. That's fine. It was pointless. They didn't lower the cost of membership. I think they could have went a long way PR-wise, PDGA. Like, if you would have just reduced the cost of membership by like $5 and taken the magazine away, I think you'd have come out the hero. But what I did notice was how much cheaper it is to be an international PDGA member.
Yeah.
Like, considerably,
Scandal.
like $40 a year cheaper almost.
And
I'm pretty sure
wonder,
the pro membership was like, I'm doing this off the top of my dome because I wasn't planning on talking about this, but I'm pretty sure the pro membership was $30, and in the US it's like $75.
It's 30?
We
gotta check that out. Now, I'm sure if you get like the disc, they charge you like crazy shipping costs.
But you don't get the disc in USA. That's an additional add-on.
Yeah, I think only when you first sign up, or at least that's how it used to be. Probably not even anymore.
Yeah, pros 30, international pricing, USA and Canada 75. Like that doesn't
Canada,
make any sense.
Brutal for Canada. Yeah, that really doesn't make any sense. Can somebody explain that to me?
Here's another question. This is not moral. I am not telling you to do this, but they don't address check you.
Well, yeah, you'd have to give them an address from a different.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So if I said I was in Helsinki, it's definitely do not do it. It's not moral. But if I said I was in Finland,
I don't think it's immoral.
If I said I lived in Finland, which would be lying, which would be immoral. If I said I lived in Finland,
it doesn't have to be your home address. Because when Paul McBeth's address was from Huntington Beach for all those years, just because he wanted to stay on his PDGA, was that immoral?
Well, he at least had lived there before. But is that why Simon still claims Germany? Save himself $45?
He doesn't anymore. It's in
but he did for a while.
Massachusetts.
But that's crazy to me. Because what's is it just they're trying to grow the sport internationally, or what?
We've got to be missing something.
Like, it's got to be they're just trying to grow the sport internationally.
Oh, that's why. It's because they charge a ton more for the add-ons. But that's stupid.
But that doesn't make any sense.
That's stupid. But I bet that's what the reasoning is.
So yeah, what you're looking at, this isn't on the screen, but Disc Golfer Magazine's $40 if you want to join it internationally. But it's $10 if you want to join it US now. So I'm paying $75. I got to pay $85 if I want to be. But like, who?
Bro, that
doesn't make any sense.
That's crazy.
Because like, what does the US get that the international membership doesn't get? I guess is what we have to ask. Because like, we don't receive physical items anymore.
Obamacare.
Is that it? But they got universal health care over there. So what are we talking about? What I want to hear that from the PDGA is like, what is international? What does the USA membership get?
I think you should tweet it out. We need to start a scandal.
Because even the amateur is $50 US, $20 over there.
I think more people need to be talking about this.
This is crazy.
You actually should tweet it because I'm not quite all the way mad yet because maybe there's some reasoning, but I'm about there.
I looked at that and I was like, that doesn't make sense. Like, the sport's pretty big internationally now.
Somebody got to figure that out.
Like, I just want to know,
because you're about to see a huge influx of people from international countries.
This is going to be the biggest year of international growth.
Dude, why are there so many people
playing
disc golf in Budapest? That's crazy.
And everyone from Finland is playing tournaments in Oklahoma right now. It's wild. These weekly leagues are just all finished, but they all speak perfect English, and they live down the road from me. It's wild.
Crazy, man. You're from Portugal? See.
I don't know. Like, I looked at that. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense to me. I'm sure that there's some type of logical.
I'm going to get dual citizenship, and it'll pay for itself.
Maybe that. Now we're talking. That's not immoral.
No.
But maybe there's.
How much does that cost?
Maybe the international PDGA. Again, I didn't research this. I wasn't planning on talking about it. When you said PDGA, it reminded me. But maybe there's something of like they pay a fee per tournament they register for and we don't or something.
Yeah, they're
maybe
better.
There's something like
there
that.
had better
but
be
I'll
something
just
going on.
I'm gonna just send a tweet out with those 2 screenshots and say just like, I'm kind of in the dark here. What does the USA membership get you that the international membership doesn't to justify this price difference? Just so I can hear responses of like, this is what the difference is. Because maybe there is just a really logical, this is it.
There can't be.
There could be.
No. Maybe they forgot to change. Maybe they forgot to change the dollar sign to pound sterling
or gold
multiplied
Bitcoin,
by 2.
Bitcoin.
Yeah,
they forgot to put it in Bitcoin.
Like it doesn't even matter what
Yeah.
currency it is unless it's literally it's Dogecoin.
Yeah, you got to pay with Ricky's Bitcoin.
Ricky's Bitcoins.
All right, the
Bitcoin.
Pro Tour announced that they're going to be hosting initial equipment testing ahead of the 2024 championship. It's the official basket testing date to be announced early 2025. So basically what they're going to be doing is at Nevin, post the Pro Tour Championship, they're going to be using players to test basically their testing methods.
I really wish they were doing this next year just so we could be there for it.
Yeah.
I'd love to watch some basket testing.
So basically right now they're preliminarily testing to refine a series of protocols is what this initial one's for. So this one isn't going to give us anything. It's just they're doing this so that they know when they test baskets, like they've done it before, they know what they're doing.
That makes
So
sense.
early next
Respect
season,
that.
all basket manufacturers are going to be invited to submit their baskets for official testing and certification for future use on the tour. This October preliminary testing is from Jeff Spring is designed for them just to identify areas of improvement in their testing procedures as they prepare to initiate updates to our official equipment review. Now, I don't think it says anywhere. The date and location 2025's official equipment testing will be announced this offseason. Once announced, interested parties can submit their equipment for certification by paying a $500 testing fee and shipping an unused brand new basket to the designated testing location. So, manufacturers will have to pay $500 to submit their basket if it gets approved. What I don't know is, it'll be integrated into 2026. So basically, it'll test in 2025. The baskets will be officially announced in 2026. So it makes sense because that way, if your basket misses, it gives you time to adjust it. Because it would be kind of unfair if you submit in January with there's no baseline right now. Like there's no, this is what your basket needs to be. So it's kind of establishing this is what your basket needs to be.
Yeah, but what now you're telling me is that you're going to test these baskets. Certain baskets might fail your testing, and then you're going to let them exist on tour all year.
For this year, yes.
Yeah, so that's really
because
stupid.
You have to have that transition period. Because even if you did it
do
now.
that during the off season.
But if you do it now.
Or don't do it at all until you're prepared to travel with baskets.
But I'm saying if they did it, this initial testing in October, okay, determines that the veteran basket is not tour ready.
Yeah.
Then the veterans have basically until, April is the first time they appear? Or no, they hit Texas State's March. So they have from like November to March to fully redesign a new basket.
It's not that hard. You get another basket. And
but
you say,
marketing wise now, because now you have to. Your old baskets are no longer good. Everyone knows your old baskets are no longer good.
You should have made a sucky basket.
But there was no. It met the only standard that's there. I'm fine with it taking a year because it gives companies enough time to sell their old stock, flip into new.
I think that's fine. It's just a bad look to me that you're going to, if you fail certain baskets and then we find out you were still using them all year on tour. I think that's a weird look.
I don't think so. Only because you're saying it starts in 2026.
Yeah, but
so you're establishing a new standard.
But right, and you're gonna tell people that these baskets failed that standard, but we still allowed them to be used for an entire year, even though they're below our standard. I think that's weird.
But what are you supposed to do? Just pull them off tour immediately?
Correct. I think that is
too much money at risk for the Pro Tour to do that.
What do you mean money at risk?
Because if I'm Prodigy, Prodigy's on the hot seat when baskets come into the tank.
Slap your name on another basket. Get 18 of them to go. You can do it. You can do it.
I don't agree with that take at all.
Just figured out. I don't think it's that complicated. They're just metal poles with chains, and clearly there's some that are better than others. They can make them. Not. It doesn't take an entire year.
But the public perception is the problem because if all of a sudden the T1s are
then you
gone,
shouldn't have made a bad basket.
But they made a basket to the current standard that was set by the PDGA. The baskets on tour meet that standard. They're now implementing a new standard. So if you implement that overnight, there's no adjustment time for the manufacturer.
There is an adjustment time. There's 4 or 5 months or whatever.
No, the earliest they could know,
is October, and they don't need to be ready until late February.
Yeah, that's November, December. That's 3.5 months.
Get some new baskets going. Right, get going right away.
But you have to retest it now.
See, here's what I think the testing process should actually be. Like, if we really want the different baskets on tour thing is so stupid to me. I think it illegitimizes the sport. The way this should work is they should test the baskets. There's going to be one that's better than the others, and every single basket on tour should be that basket. Why on earth would you use a basket that catches differently or any worse or, like I said, any differently than the other baskets? I think that is so dumb.
I don't mind there being a standard basket. I don't mind there being a bidding process of Innova pays the most, so they're the basket on tour. But I don't.
They're not. These things aren't protected to my knowledge. Just let develop a standard. Maybe make it a little bit different than one certain basket, just to so it's not a direct copy, and then have everybody just make that basket or something. I don't know, man. But I just think it's so ridiculous that we putt on different baskets and we don't have to. It's not like they're some rare resource. Yeah. They're not that expensive.
Yeah, but I don't fully mind the idea of that's the only thing that makes putting hard is if you got to change your putt.
That's so gimmicky though. That's
I don't
gimmicky.
But I mean, if we're not willing to make the basket smaller, which is what we should do in my opinion, then you got to do something to make putting harder.
I think if it's at the cost of literally we're putting on these inconsistently different baskets every weekend, then no, I think that is worse. I think that is worse than having putting be slightly easier.
What'll be very interesting to me is if, because they're going to go through this whole testing process and it's supposed to be unbiased, right? What'll be very interesting to me is if it comes out completely different than what the pros have said. What if T1s are the best catching baskets?
The problem,
there's no shot, but imagine.
The fact they are giving them this long of a timeline, I feel like that probably means they are expecting to cut some baskets loose, because I think if they were just doing this as a PR move of we're going to test them and then hey, they all met our tests, then they wouldn't really develop a long timeline. But what's going to be the worst case scenario is if just all of them pass the test and it's just well, that was the waste of everybody's time. It's going to be I just think the drama is palpable if they literally just cut out one or two baskets.
I just think it'll be hilarious if the data comes back and what pros have complained about was just oh no, according to our testing, the Prodigy T1s are the best basket out there.
There will be riots in the street if the veterans basket or the Prodigy basket ends up coming out on top. And why do I see in a weird it all depends on how they test this and how they perceive it, because there's a universe where that Prodigy basket can look really good.
Yeah, if you throw the right putts at it, it's incredible.
To my knowledge, I feel like it's pretty obvious to most people that the baskets that get the least amount of complaints are first and foremost Chain Star Pros. I feel like those things never get bad spit outs, and then disc catchers have kind of just been a pretty decent standard.
Yeah, I agree. We'll see if the tests agree. But that's going to wrap it up for Grip Lock this week. Be sure to tune into the live stream that's going on as you're listening to this. Even if you're listening to this tomorrow, it's probably still going on. And see who's suffering over there. And we will talk to you again next week.